Hey everybody, Brian King here. A week ago today, if you've been watching my news feed, I had a breakdown. And this quarantine, being cut off from a lot of my supports and my distractions, led to a real confrontation with some of my demons. And I've shed a lot of tears. I've had a lot of difficulty sleeping. I've reached out to a lot of people, had a lot of people reach out to me, and it's all been so incredibly valuable and insightful. And I'll tell you, it was hard to see that part of it when I was in the thick of it. There were times where I was just so caught up in the anxiety and the hurt that that's all I could see. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And my only point of reference for hanging in there was the fact that I had been through similar dark spots in my life and I had emerged better. And I hung on to that, knowing that at some point I would see a way out. And with the help of some amazing people, I'm feeling better. I'm tired, but I'm happier. I definitely feel like I'm getting a grasp at what the hell is going on. And within the past 48 hours, again, by talking through some people, I've realized some things about myself. And one of those is the value of conversation. One thing that I've learned about the way my brain works over the years is that I problem solve best through dialogue, through bouncing ideas off of other people, by having them listen, tell me what they heard, taking the time to slow my thinking down and put language to my experience. And because I have all those glitches and gaps, because of the ADHD and the Asperger's, I know that I miss things. I know I have a tendency to see things from a very black and white perspective, and I don't often appreciate the gray as much as I could, especially when I'm highly emotional. So I need people to help me fill in the gaps. So I talk to other people in real time, and I talk to you. I make posts about this stuff. Now, one of the reasons I'm able to be so vulnerable is because I need you to help me process what I'm going through. I need you to ask me questions to help me go deeper. I need to see your response because often you spot things, aspects of my experience that I missed. You draw analogies or metaphors, or you're reminded of something in your life that resonates with what I said, and you give me a better perspective on things. So you are just as much an asset to me as anything I post is to you, because that conversation, that dialogue is so essential for me to understand my own thinking and process my own experiences. So we are really co-creating a lot of this stuff. So I want to thank you for the part you play in that. That's the first thing I learned. The first lesson is I problem solve through dialogue, and social media is an important resource in helping me do that. Secondly, something I was going through last night. I thought I was feeling better. I was calm. I processed a lot. But as soon as my head hit the pillow, man, I started attacking myself, beating myself up for all the feelings that were coming up. Why am I feeling this way? Why is this? Why am I going through this? And then I stopped myself and asked myself this question: Bry, what are you resisting? Why are you beating yourself up so much? What is wrong with what's happening right now that you have such a big problem with? And what I realized I was doing is, and this is something I have recommended to clients over the years, which is be mindful of the fact that not only do you feel anxiety, but when you feel anxious about feeling anxious. And what I realized I was doing was beating myself up for being emotional in the first place. I was thinking You shouldn't be so upset. This shouldn't be so hard. You shouldn't be so emotional. And when I realized, why the heck are you saying you shouldn't be feeling exactly what you must feel in order to get through this? So, Bry, stop shooting all over yourself and let the emotions come. Let them be. And as soon as I stopped pushing back and just said, okay, whatever it is, let it come, and I just relaxed my resistance. And surprisingly, instead of feeling a wave of anxiety or hurt, I calmed down. And that got me thinking, man, I might have done more healing than I thought I did, but because I was thinking I shouldn't feel this, I shouldn't feel that, how much of my lagging hurt and anxiety was because I was feeling bad about feeling bad. So that's the second insight. The last one is the most vulnerable. And when I was processing with a good friend, I think it was yesterday, trying to figure out why I was having such a hard time letting go of this belief that I wasn't good enough. What wasn't I allowing myself to feel? What I realized was, if I let go of the idea that I wasn't good enough, I would have to admit that the reason I was chasing feeling good enough in the first place is because I feared being reminded of the feeling that I don't belong. And growing up on the playground, in the classroom, being this weird, awkward kid who couldn't keep up in class, who was clumsy and couldn't play any of the games the boys were, who missed social cues, I felt my whole life like I didn't belong, like I was in the way, like I was unlovable. And I at some point decided, if I pleased everybody, they would love me and I would belong. And when you're an all or nothing thinker, that lends itself to perfectionism. And pleasing a lot of people isn't enough, as you know. You need to please everybody. You need to have a perfect score. Because if you don't, if one person is unhappy with you, you've screwed it up and you might as well have pleased nobody. And that's what I've been chasing for 50 years. I've been chasing, wanting to please everybody to be good enough so that I could belong. And by chasing that and thinking somehow I'm going to find a way, I was denying the very pain, the fear that I was running from, the fear that I didn't belong. Now, I'm going to tangent a little bit here before coming back to the point. I thought about this in the context of kids on the spectrum with ADHD who refuse to raise their hand, self advocate, and be looked at by their peers. To be looked at in fear, they're judging me, they think I'm dumb. I hope they don't find out I have this diagnosis, because if they do, then they'll decide I no longer belong because I'm not normal, because I have this diagnosis, I'm different. This is one of the reasons I think parents resist the diagnosis and kids resist the diagnosis. Because one of the most horrific feelings in the world is the feeling that you don't belong and that you are alone. And that is my biggest fear. My biggest fear are the acknowledgments that I don't belong. But here's also what I realized. I realized, by all the amazing support and feedback that you all have given me, that I do belong. That you've welcomed me into your lives, that you accept me the way I am, that I don't have to please everybody, that I don't have to be perfect. I just need to show up and be a human being, and that's enough. And that is such a profound realization, an amazing gift that you've given me. by allowing me into your lives and showing me that, hey, Bri, you're welcome here. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm getting kind of emotional talking about this because I've been chasing for 50 years something that I've had for a very long time. But because I was chasing perfection, I totally missed it. And it took this quarantine and this breakdown for me to discover that my biggest fear is nothing to be afraid of anymore. So thank you for allowing me to belong in your life. And thank you for belonging to mine. And those are the three big lessons that I've learned so far. There's a lot more to come, of course. So take this for what it's worth. I hope that this is helpful for you. And remember, please remember that you're good enough. Your best is good enough. And as long as you're doing that, you done good. So this has been Brian sending my love. Take care, and let's talk soon.